So the first item is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I am moved, we approve the agenda.
Thank you. We have a second.
Also,
Sean, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, agenda is approved. Okay, we are at input from the public regarding items not on open session agenda. And technically, this is by email, but I'm going to recognize Mary Fricker because she has a comment to make that's not on the agenda. Where is she?
He's back there.
I can make,
May-
I can make comments, even if they don't submit them by email.
Okay.
on items not on the agenda.
Mary, you're up. You're welcome.
Did that do it? Oh, yes, Dick. Thank. All right, thank you. And thank you for letting me go early, all of you. Hello. Depending on, and I time this, it takes about a minute and 45 seconds. Depending on what our community wants our community school to be, marketing is going to be a very important part of its success. And that's why I want to make sure all of you know who Dale Doherty is. So we can spread the word that he's involved with our makerspace. Dale invented the maker movement. He created it. He still runs it. Here's some stuff about Dale. He developed and launched Make Magazine in 2005 and Maker Fair in 2006. They exploded. He's president of Make, the global organization. I urge you to check out the website where you will learn that Dale's vision and mission continue to be the guiding force for the maker movement. Here's a little trivia from that website. Dale developed the first commercial website in 1993. He named Web 2.0. And Web 2.0 was declared the 1 millionth word in the English language. And he is going to be with our makerspace. Think about that. Thank you, Dale. Two more things I want to quickly mention for our school. One is I hope you saw Dale's article in the Sebastopol Times on Sunday about AI in Sebastopol. Amazing. We can prepare our youth for that industry. And two, Keysight has 75 openings in Santa Rosa. 75. Sometimes that list exceeds 100. Check it out online. Many of the jobs are for interns. Why can't Keysight fill those positions? We can help with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Dale's blushing. Okay, Christy Lubin, would you like to come speak to us?
Is it on?
Yeah.
I know some of you, I don't know all of the board members. I haven't been a regular board meeting attendee, but I know everyone else. So I'm a special ed teacher here at Annalee. I've been here for 15 years now. I teach special day class and resource, and I co-chair the special ed department. But I'm not here to talk about special ed. I'm here to talk about our district's safe haven resolution and to talk about the current climate in this country and the fear and that a lot of our students and their families are experiencing right now. So back in 2017, at the January meeting, myself and the students from the Annalee Mecha Club, of which at that time I was the faculty advisor, we drafted a safe haven resolution and brought it to the school board. A month later, the school board voted for that resolution, but it was half of what we had asked to have in the resolution. It was a very watered down version, basically, of the Santa Rosa City Schools resolution. So, you know, this time around, it's a little bit different and we really don't know what is going to happen. But if you're listening to the news, it doesn't sound good. And even though people say, oh, this is Sebastopol or Sonoma County, it's not Bakersfield or LA or El Paso or New York, you know, there is still a lot of fear. And there has been a lot of ICE presence over the years. And 2022 was the highest number of ICE presence in Sonoma County. I can give an example that just today I found out one of my students has been pulled out of Annalee. He's actually not off the roster yet, but he was taken to a different school up on the coast, to Point Arena High School. He's from out on the river. Another teacher told me that she had a student with an injured foot and a Latina student, and asked, "Oh, are you going to go see the doctor? Because she's been limping." And she goes, "My mother's scared to take me to the clinic." So this stuff is real, and our families, our students are living it, even though we may not be seeing that ourselves. So what want to talk about is that other school districts have been revising their safe haven resolutions, making them broader, making them stronger, making them public facing. You can look in the Press Democrat, Petaluma, Healdsburg, Santa Rosa, Napa, they all, and this is back in December after the election, since the elections. And I believe, and I have met with some other teachers who couldn't come tonight, folks who work with our ELD students and our family engagement coordinators. We feel like we would like to see a more comprehensive, more in-depth safe haven resolution come out of the school district. And we would like to see it made public. And I could be mistaken, and excuse me if I am mistaken, but I haven't received in Parent Square an email from the district telling, with an email with the safe haven resolution. I know it went out to Spanish speaking families, but why is it not coming out to our community as a whole, to all the students of the school, to all the teachers of the school, so that everybody's on the same page and really understands what the district's current position is around safe haven, around ICE coming onto campuses. Myself, and there will be others who will come next time, if there is a next time, we would like to ask that the district take a look at this resolution, and that the board take a look at it, and that it take it back to the people who are most affected right now, who are our Spanish speaking students, our students in our meta classes and our Raza Club. Take it back to the ELAC parents and ask them, is this enough? Does this make you feel that the school is going to do all that it can to protect you, to protect your children while they're at school? And does it, I want to say, like, I do a lot of work in the immigrant rights community. I have for a long time, and we have a saying, nothing about us without us. So instead of writing a resolution and just the board passing it, like, let's bring it to the people and let's get their input and ask them what they need from the school district around this. And then the other thing that a lot of teachers have been talking about is, and we had a great presentation yesterday at our staff meeting about the Know Your Rights cards and about what's going on, but what really is the district protocol and policies and procedures around if ICE were to come to campus, aside from the fact we understand the superintendent's the only person, is their go-to person, but what if he's not here? And what happens in the front office? The superintendent's over there. And how are staff being trained in these situations like they're trained when we have other crises, when we have intruders, when we have other kinds of emergencies on campus? We would like to know. So that's all I came to say tonight. And Chris, myself, and Ashley, Jeanette, and Louie, we would really like to meet with you and talk about this more. So we're very available, especially the 7th period.
Thank you. I know this has been a hot topic in the, excuse me, in the DEI committee too. And Anita, you can address this maybe also, but it's up. So thank you. Casey Jones.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just want to talk about a few awesome things going on in the arts here at Annalee and kind of out and about. This past week, I was at Sacramento for the California, got to remember the acronym, California All-State Music Conference. Create your own acronym. And I was doing a lot of great workshops and sessions. One of my favorite highlights was career readiness in the performing arts. And this week is the Sonoma County Honor Band, as well as the North Bay Honors Strings Orchestra Group, the orchestra, which I am coordinating and starting this year. I'm really excited about that. We have 6 students in band in the Sonoma County Band and 4 students in the North Bay Orchestra. It would have been one more for each, but scheduling conflicts and things. So I'm really excited for that, and that's this weekend at the Green Music Center in Saturday evening. Out of those students as well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going to the Northern California Honor Band. That takes place at Chico State. And so students and I will be going to Chico State to perform. I'm not performing, I'm just in the audience. But they'll be performing and a part of 3-day rehearsals for a performance that includes students from all over Northern California, that includes not only a concert band, but as well as a jazz band, which 2 of our students are in, and a jazz choir and a concert choir as well. And that's in February. In the dance department, we have a dance festival this weekend. That's at the Elmo Performing Arts Center. And then we have a dance show at the end of February. That's the 26th, 27th, and 28th here on Annalee, on the Annalee campus in the theater. I'm also excited about the incoming 9th grader night. We'll have some performances, including in those presentations, and that's February 6th. There we go. Thank you. Sorry, I got a long list. Also in February, we have the choir variety show, and that's February 13th, also in the Annalee Theater. So there are a lot of events and things going on, as well as performances. Tomorrow, I'll be taking the jazz band and the symphonic band on a little tour to Hillcrest and Twin Hills. Say that 3 times fast. And so we'll be going and performing there as well. And I'm really excited because Mr. Jared Brown's Leadership Kids are accompanying us and giving a little pitch as well. So we're one big team and family. So I'm really excited about that also. So I'll send you all the information via email, because if you're like me, you got to write it down. So thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Casey. Kai Hamblin.
Realize that I haven't met all of the board members, so for those of you I don't know, I am the CTE sports medicine teacher here at Annalee. I am a football coach here as well, and also a parent of a sophomore student athlete. I just found out some news yesterday, or else I would have probably addressed it a little differently than in public comment, but I wanted to kind of give a quick update on some happenings that are going on within the CTE and athletic department, and kind of hopefully raise some awareness within the public of what's going on. So I found out yesterday that we would no longer be able to fund our athletic trainers that we have partnered with from Corrective Exercise and Restoration for the rest of this school year, as the CTE grant that we were counting on for it did not get funded. While I know it's still a top priority of the admin and the CTE departments to fund this partnership for future years, and that more grants are in the works for funding it beginning next fall, it's my understanding that there is no other source of district funds that can pick up the slack for the rest of this school year. So my hope is that by providing this kind of update to the board and hopefully raising some public awareness, that maybe we can I don't know, promote some kind of other creative, maybe publicly sourced type of funds to bridge the gap between February 1st, when this service is going to end for us, and going into the rest of the school year. So as a parent of a student athlete on the Annalee soccer team, this news is very unsettling. My daughter has not been injured herself this season, but I have watched multiple of her teammates go down with serious injuries and really reap the benefits from the wonderful services, treatments, and rehabilitation provided by Corrective Exercise. As a football coach, I saw much the same all through the fall seasons of all the sports, and I know that our athletes and general population have definitely benefited from having them here. As the teacher of our CTE sports medicine program, this is a particularly devastating news, as they have been providing on the field, in the clinic, field experience hours for our students within the program in order to get, again, that field experience and mentorship as they go through the early college credit internship program at the SRJC. So I know I don't have a lot of time in this format to really kind of detail all of the things that that really have benefited our community, our students, our athletes, based on this partnership. But I wanted to urge anyone of the board members and anyone in the public who might be watching or reading up on this later to contact me directly so I can provide some more detailed information on, all of these benefits and why it's so vital and important that we try to find a way to keep them around. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Yeah, based on action taken in closed session tonight, I just wanted to pull the monthly personnel report. We'll need to make one amendment to that.
All right, so we need a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended by Dan's comment.
I move that we approve the consent calendar minus number 6.
A second?
I second.
Linda, thank you. All in favor? Any discussion about the consent calendar? No. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. So where do we want to stick? We stick that in now?
Yeah, have Dan talk.
Dan, you want to just say what we need to do to amend that, and then we'll,
Yeah, the report out on closed session has not occurred yet, so I'm not sure how, if you want me to do that after that. It'll come after, but I don't know if, correct. If the board's okay, why don't we come back to item 6 under the consent calendar after you report out on closed session?
okay. Sean, action taken in closed session.
The board took action in closed session under agenda item number D1 to terminate the employee of a probationary certificated employee effective January 11th, 2025. The vote was Buckner, aye. Trinella, aye. Fernandez, aye. Helton, aye. Kutera, aye.
Thank you.
Sure. So just want to make a note that we'll be adding that item of the dismissal of a probationary certificated employee to the personnel report. And then I will share that updated copy with Karen to post onto the agenda. And then if you want to take a motion, yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the fact that we amended the HR report?
Yes.
A second. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. You're good to go, Dan. Now we're at reports, student reports. Lainey, Alina, who's going to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. Hello, everyone. I would just like to mention that I think probably leave after my report. I'm sorry, it's been a very long week, and part of my report is that the musical is happening, and that's super fun, but I also just came from rehearsal, so I haven't really left school today, so I gotta go home after this. Okay, sports. So we have basketball, soccer, and wrestling going on right now. A few senior nights coming up. There's a basketball game happening about now, and then and wrestling going on right now too. Make sure we get that. Last night soccer won, varsity soccer won against Santa Rosa High, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, 4-0, pretty cool. And then the spring musical, I just said that, is started rehearsing, so that's going pretty good. We're having a winter dance coming up hosted by our dance program, so that'll be really, I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be fun. Mr. Jones mentioned that leadership is going to a couple middle schools with the band programs. I unfortunately can't go because our AP US history classes are going to a field trip at 6th Street Playhouse. We're gonna go see what the Constitution means to me. So that'll be really cool. I'm excited for that. We're also working on just like some prom stuff on the horizon in terms of like leadership, I guess. And then QSI, this is because of the dismissal of the teacher. We decided to go with the QSI program, under which we have a supervisional teacher who isn't permitted to actually teach like AP psychology seminar or language arts and composition, but that staff member, that was a wonderful addition to the program. She is like very, very kind and sweet, so that was great. Like that was a great hire. But the QSI program itself is pretty confusing. It's we're figuring out the technological difficulties for it, but it uses primarily Microsoft and we use Chrome and Chromebooks, and so that was just hard to figure out. So that's kind of a mess, but like we're we're AP students, so we're figuring it out the best that we can. But yeah, that was rough. So that's pretty hard. Um, and then Unity Week's coming up. I'll talk about that more in February at the board meeting, but we're going to have different for those of you who don't know what it is, we're going to have different groups from around the county, and different nonprofits, things like that, talk about what they do in our community and for students. And it's just it's a cool week to learn about businesses and nonprofits and groups in our area that are like for the people. So that was just really, I'm excited to that. It's really beneficial for a lot of people. And then that was also this was also talked about in the public comment we received. But as a queer individual myself, I've always felt supported at Annalee, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. But then also, I know we've had problems in the past with bullying and violence and things like that for queer individuals at the school, and so I just think it's important that what's going on in our country right now, that we all make sure that no matter whatever your beliefs are, political or religious, which you're entitled to, we care about the students because that's what we're here for. And you have to accept the student no matter what form they come in race or sexual orientation or any other thing like that, because we are supposed to care about the students and they come first and they're what's most important. And so I just think that we all should keep them and that kind of thing in our hearts right now. And that's all I have to report.
Well said. Thank you. Yeah.
So good evening, everybody. I wasn't here like the last two board meetings, I think. One of them was my birthday, and then the other one, it was just, I think I was at work. Yeah, I had work. I had to go to work.
Good job. I can't do that right now.
I know.
That's awesome.
Anyways, but yeah, so I have a few things, not that much, but yeah, so this is from a while back because like I said, I wasn't here for two of them, but we did something for the holiday spirit by door decorating. Every like advisory class decorated a door, and then the people from the office, they judged which one was first, second, third, and fourth, I think. And then no, like some tied, but yeah, that's a different story. Yeah, and then we had some scholarship applications going out, which those were due on December 13th. A lot of applications went out, so we are definitely grateful for that, and also grateful for our counselor Shannon for helping with that. And also in December, on Friday, the 20th of December, we held a traditional Laguna holiday dinner with staff, community members, and well, I think it was our culinary class, maybe, but they came together to cook and serve a meal to the students. So, yeah. And then, okay. So we started a student council a while back, but we didn't continue on with it that well. So now we have been like really continuing on. And so we're designing some rhino figures on top of the walls like next to our classroom, which they're gonna repaint, but we just wanted to do something fun and cool. We're just painting rhinos. We trace them and then we're gonna paint them soon. But yeah. And then also in student council, we have been creating fun new ideas for the Laguna campus. Like some of the students that are part of the student council have been doing announcements every Tuesday and Thursday that like include a funny joke and stuff about the rest of the school week that's going on. And then we also create spirit days and stuff like that because we didn't have any. Um, but we just had our first spirit day January 17th on Friday, which was pajama day, and we served hot chocolate, and whoever was wearing pajamas, they got like rhino bucks, which is like our form of cash to get stuff. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Principals. Oh, I'm sorry. Who's here from associations? Lily? No. Brian? No, no. All right, how about if we can go to principals and come back to association? Let's do that. Greg?
All right, good evening, everybody. So we are in the middle of our Youth Truth Survey window. I believe we have 7 days left. And so I want to take some time today to kind of reflect back on, our goals that we set with the Youth Truth data and how we used our Youth Truth data in conjunction with our WASC process last year and our school site council. And so we set as a school last year, we really have 4 goals, and the overarching kind of umbrellas are academic achievement and challenge, attendance, post-secondary planning, and safe space. And so I just want to talk a little bit about what those goals are and how we utilize this Youth Truth data to inform us, whether it's through programming or if it's a measurement tool and that sort of thing. So we're very, very anxious to get our data back in February and see, if we're hitting the mark or, where there's more work to be done. So our goal coming into this year is under the category academic challenge. We wanted to increase our student ranking by 15 percentiles. And so when we got the data last year, we looked at, okay, this is our goal. How are we going to do this? And so some of the things that we've incorporated is, diagnostic testing 3 times a year, really trying to hone in on where our students are at and meeting them where they are. Secondly, we have increase and sustained positive daily attendance of 85%. And so while Youth Truth, there's some things around school climate and school culture that definitely factor into these things, impacted some of the things we do, as Lanesia said, with the Rhino Bucks and some of our PBIS protocols. But some other things I want to mention to try and reach this goal. But we have an additional day of a family engagement coordinator at Laguna, which has been super helpful. We're making twice a week, we're making attendance phone calls and check-ins. I mentioned the PBIS and the positive reward systems, and attendance is included in that. And then we also, were the very, very lucky recipients of a new school van, which I think I just eclipsed 750 miles on. I'm not sure when we got it, but we're doing daily pickups to bring kids to school. So, I need to run those numbers and see where we're at, but I think we're close to that 85% number. For our third goal, post-secondary planning, the goal itself is prepare students for post-secondary options, improving college and career readiness through dual enrollment, internships, and career exploration. So with the Youth Truth data, we have identified under the Youth Truth survey, under college and career readiness, we wanted to increase our ranking from the 81st percentile to the 85th percentile. So we'll see where we shake out there in February. And then we're also looking at our dual enrollment numbers as well. And then for the last goal, safe space, increase the capacity of our wellness program to increase and sustain a healthy, safe, positive learning environment for students and staff. And so here we're looking at under the belonging and peer collaboration, our goal was to increase from the 25th percentile to the 50th percentile. And for the staff survey, one of the questions is, I feel safe from harm at my school, and we wanted to increase that from the 64th percentile to the 85th percentile. So hopefully we'll be coming back in February and reporting out that we've met some of our goals. We've had a number of teachers participating in some professional development opportunities. One staff member has been participating in the Grading for Equity cohort, continuing some of the work from our district PD sessions throughout the year. Another staff member has been participating in the Interrupting Racism cohorts through SCO and attended a 2-day workshop at SCO, I believe is Seeds of Solidarity, and somewhat of an extension of that Interrupting Racism. So a couple last things. One of the resolutions was for CAPE on the board agenda today. So the Crisis Assessment for Prevention and Education team is what CAPE stands for through Sonoma County Behavioral Health. So I just want to give a shout out to Laura Schmidt and West County Health and just working to bring us another truly incredible resource for our students. And on January 13th, North Bay Construction Corps came and presented to our students, and they were also here last night presenting at ELAC. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about, we've had 8 graduates over the last 2 years since I've been here from the North Bay Construction Corps. I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to Mackenzie and the team for always making time for Laguna High School, for West County. I think they're at Annalee quite a bit too. Really, really awesome program that our kids really benefit from. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then today we hosted with Redwood Credit Union a Bite of Reality personal finance workshop. I hope the kids enjoyed it. I wanted to thank Jenny and Denise, Louis Mora, Sandy Beshart for coming and trying to upsell our kids and blow out their budgets and sell them a boat and a big house and all those things. Seemed like they were having fun with it. So it was a good time today, and I think we got some good, really quality personal finance learning and budgeting done today. So that's all I got for tonight.
Thank you, Greg. Mr. Wade.
Chuck Wade, Principal, Annalee High School. I appreciate Greg mentioning Youth Truth. Since there are a couple parents in the audience, I want to remind you that window is open. Please take your Youth Truth survey. Definitely want that data. We do use it. As Greg said, we use it for goal setting. It was used in our LCAP development process. It's used in our site council. It's used in our DEI committee. It's super important to us, so please take the survey. I want to touch on a couple things. Last month in my principal report, I talked a little bit about some of the high impact professional development that we're involved with. Lots of it teacher directed. I want to give you a little bit of an update about one of the things I mentioned last time. You may remember talked about a site visit tour that I was going to be attending with teachers. That just happened last week, so I want to tell you what that was all about. And I also want to share a letter we received, just because I think it's so interesting and highlights some of our outstanding staff members. So this came from Arlen McDonald, formerly Arlen Privet, from the class of 1959. So Arlen says, I won't read this whole thing, but I want you to get a little sense of it. Dear Mr. Wade and secretarial staff, thank you so much for your kindness in helping my daughter give me the precious gift of a copy of the 1959 Azalea yearbook. Mine was lost and had no hope of finding a copy. Your kindness to take the time to copy all the pages and bind them and mail the book is so appreciated. To think that you would all participate in this kind act made the hearts of all my family members grow warm as they watched me unwrap this gift on Christmas morning. She goes on to talk about why this was so personally important to her. She was the first, Sonoma County's first American Field Service Exchange student. Life-changing experience for her. It's really the only record and photographs that she has about that. I didn't know that this happened at all, actually. So I, when I received this letter, asked around, and turns out Sandra Jones in our office took it upon herself to do this. And about that, I'm not at all surprised. She's a very much above and beyond kind of person, and always, sort of jumps into the breach and takes on anything that comes in the door. And this was one of those things. And she just said, well, this is what needs to happen. And she just did it. So, really appreciate that kind of service in our main office. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. With respect to the site visit, so this comes from some of the K-12 Strong Workforce Grant work that we've been doing. We're actually involved in multiple Strong Workforce grants at this point. They're an annual thing. There's an opportunity sometimes to be part of a consortium grant with other districts, and we have a number now focused on specific programs. The first one that we wrote since I was here focused on supporting specifically our low socioeconomic status students. What can we do to improve that student experience? And in particular, Greg mentioned lots of Youth Truth data that is that self-reported sort of perception information. We had students tell us very clearly that they didn't feel prepared for their next steps, and that they didn't feel a strong enough sense of belonging. And so those are a couple of things that we're really interested in getting better at. And we think that in order to remain excellent, we're going to have to improve on. So one of the things that we built into that grant program was to take teams of teachers to see what other innovative high schools are doing. So we did that last week. Our traveling team visited 5 distinctly different high schools in and around San Diego and Phoenix. Joining me on that trip were math teacher Henry Atherley, English teachers Paige Greco and Blake Leibovitz, social science teacher Melissa McLaughlin, CTE coordinator teacher on special assignment Heidi Mickelson, and culinary teacher Sari Piccolo, art teacher Ari Stur. I can't say enough about those teachers' sacrifice of time and energy. It was, five schools in 3 days, or really 2.5 days over 2 states. It was intense, but pretty great. So just briefly, super inspiring to see schools that employed sort of different models to support the changing needs of their students. We visited the Kearney Educational Complex in San Diego. This was a large high school that had been failing, that they divided up into 4 integrated team-taught small schools. Very interesting to see. We went to Mira Mesa High School, also a large high school in San Diego. Very well developed, very rigorous pathways aligned with post-secondary opportunities. They had multiple pathways where students had to choose between scholarship offers at really competitive colleges and offers to go directly to work. So one example of this, we saw healthcare pathway where students were creating materials that are used in bio labs throughout San Diego. So they have as clients the rest of their massive school district. We walked in there and they're all wearing their white coats and at work, like making stuff. So it's kind of cool. We also visited Bostonia Global, probably the most radical school we looked at. It's organized around advisory. They call they don't use the term teacher, they call them advisors, sort of on the model that teachers teach content, whereas advisors teach students or support students. So a very strong advisory group, very tight-knit, very aligned with the world of work. They use sort of an assessment tool, kind of like Myers-Briggs or something that comes from the Labor Department. And students are very in tune with their strengths and areas of growth and develop their own sort of individual learning plans based on that. Like many of the schools we visited, they are wall-to-wall standards-based grading. We looked at Del Lago Academy of Applied Science. by far the most impressive physical plant of any high school I've ever visited. They have grade level integrated projects, super compelling and simple pillars of excellence that are sort of integrated throughout the campus, both in their coursework and in their extracurricular subjects. And then finally, in Mesa, Arizona, Westwood High School, a large school, 3,300 students. Actually, the first time I remember going through a metal detector at a high school. They have the students searched every day, but once inside, it's a super sweet, tight knit, small, integrated, team taught place. Their teaming model provides integrated wraparound supports, most fully realized at this point in their freshman academies. All of their special ed support, for example, counseling support, all of it is integrated into those teams. These were some of the most enthusiastic educators and students that I've really ever heard from. A lot of joy on that campus. Again, standards-based grading site-wide. At each of these sites, our team was able to ask questions of practitioners, to collect documents like policies and rubrics, to observe classrooms, talk to students. There were exhilarating takeaways from every site. That team will be sharing more at our district-wide PD Day on Monday. If you're around, come check it out.
Wow, awesome. That's really inspiring. Wow. Okay, association reports. All right, let's move on. Board reports. Rio, anything? Linda?
I can say I was at the holiday luncheon out at Laguna. It was wonderful. I thank you very much. It was a nice community event, and I really appreciated it. It was good.
I don't have a report as much as just a comment. There seems to be a little confusion out there about the community school. And I just want to make it clear that it is not reopening El Molino High School. And in my opinion, it will benefit an underserved student population, but it's not a comprehensive high school that's opening, and it's not reopening El Molino High School. So.
Yes, I also attended the Laguna luncheon. It was delightful and appreciated the welcome, and food was fantastic. So thanks for having us. I also wanted to let the board know that I attended a CSBA budget update the other day, and it was very enlightening. I've attended them most every year for the last number of years. And what was probably more interesting than anything is that there were 67 questions from members of the public, board members that were in attendance. And that's the most, and they even commented, that's the most that they've ever had. A lot of them had to do with TK, which certainly doesn't affect me. And I kept going, okay, come on. But some of the other questions that were asked that were quite poignant had to do with the fires in LA and about, what's happening down there in the schools. And, but one of the biggest questions was about the property taxes being basically postponed, and the folks down in LA not being made to pay their taxes for probably a year and a half. That happened up here when we had the fires here in 2017. It happened in Paradise. This could be a much grander scale because we're talking about many more homes and businesses and a much grander scale of type of home and value. So it could really have a huge effect on our budget. And so people were asking about that. How would that affect it? So it's just something for us to keep in the back of our head and to keep, think about that it could impact the state budget, thus impact our budget, which was, it's a little freaky scary. I did just want to say how sad I am for that community and what they're going through, and the school communities down there. So many schools were burnt down. The kids are back to learning via computer again at home or from a hotel or from wherever. And it's not ideal, especially them having just done that through the pandemic and just kind of gotten back into the swing of things. It's going to be rough for them. So our thoughts need to remain with them. I also wanted to, it kind of is along the line of what Christy Lubin was talking about, the immigration directive that has come down. And, you know, I realize that we have a safe haven policy or safe haven resolution that we did. We actually probably do need to change our safe haven resolution, and it may be even less what maybe our community wants based on the directive from the federal government. Our hands are going to be very tied. And this is coming directly from CSBA lawyers, that that schools, churches, and hospitals are no longer safe haven places. And ICE can come in at any time. And yeah, we have what we think and we feel and what we want. It may not stop them. Just want everybody to be aware, and it's heartbreaking. And I realize that that's really difficult for people. But anyway, those are the things I wanted to share.
I want to use my time really briefly to do something incredibly mundane and procedural with the board. It's just because of the Brown Act. It's like I'm not allowed to like talk to everyone or even to talk about something in private session, closed session that's not on the agenda. It's like nuts. So anyway, here we are. I'm really trying for the meetings to move as efficiently as possible and for people to be concise. And one of the places where we lose a little bit of time every item is waiting for someone to make a motion and then waiting for someone to second. So I would like to propose that we just rotate. So make a motion, second, make a motion, second, make a motion, second, make a motion, second, make a motion, second. If you have something you feel strongly about that you'd like to be associated with,
Louis, I'm sorry.
moving, then yes.
Well, the motion's got to be based on, you know, each trustee's understanding and, you know, interest in the particular item. So having a rotation regarding that piece, we can't do that. That could be construed as a violation of the Brown Act. So, yeah.
I give up.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
moving right along. Superintendent report.
Okay.
You have 2.5 minutes now.
All right. I'll be concise. No, and I appreciate, you know, Lewis's sentiment. You know, we honor the public and the folks that attend, and obviously everybody that commits their time to these meetings. I'll keep this short and sweet. It's been a great start to the new year. We're all looking forward to Monday's Certificated Professional Development Day. We looked at this one a little bit differently in terms of the needs of the Laguna and consortium staff, and they'll be engaging in dedicated PD relative to their respective programs out in Forestville. Annalee will be engaging in our ongoing continuum of professional learning with the themes that we've identified and been working towards over the past several years here at Annalee. We're all very excited about the direction and progress of our district over the past 2.5 years, and that's big thanks to our amazing staff and leadership and board and community. There's been 3 ongoing priorities for me as the superintendent, in addition to everything else that I do. Obviously, number 1, that's been the development of the new school. Negotiations and our continuous work to create positive labor relations with our partners is number 2. And then now that we have a really sound 3-year local control accountability plan and a strategic plan for the district, we will begin revising that 3-year plan per the requirements and also as an opportunity to continue to address the specific needs of our students and the direction of our district. I'd like to note that since posting the agenda on Friday, I've received countless positive emails from folks in the El Molino community, alum, residents of the far Russian River area, and it's been really refreshing, and I appreciate the community's support for our initiative, and I believe I've shared most of those with the board but I received a few more yesterday as well. But Andrew and I were on the road. We went to Sacramento and back. We attended the governor's budget workshop. I wasn't able to attend last year, but Andrew went. That was because my daughter was born. But it's a great workshop. It's very informational regarding new legislation and the financial climate and the COLA. It was announced at 2.43%. Obviously, there's been some changes with new administration, and so we're going to continue to monitor all that comes out, and we will see that final budget process as Andrew explains to y'all. It happens at the state level as well, so there could be some revisions in May, and then the final budget would be adopted in June. We're really looking forward, on a final note tonight, to getting started with our labor partners, both WSCTA and CSEA next week.
Okay, education services, and it says of framework, but I think it means DEI framework. You need to use the mic. Yeah, it's a thing.
Hi, I was just saying hello to the new board members. Anita Sandwina, our DEI person. Sorry, I've been sick all week. So we'll do our best. Can we still say that word DEI?
Absolutely.
I heard I was going to get, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, luckily. So I wanted to first, there were actually two things on the agenda. First was to finally be able to present what we think of as our completed sort of vision for thinking about diversity, equity, belonging, justice on our campus, and like how we want to go forward with that. And that is with the framework document that the committee's been working on. We were all excited to present it, but received some more really good feedback from the association. And so we wanted to hear that feedback and consider it like we have been hearing and considering feedback, which we're almost up to 2 years, like really trying to come up with something that's really sturdy and that can really guide us over the next many years to help us think well about all of our students and create advantages and create equality of opportunity, et cetera. So just to remind folks, our framework has 7 parts to it. We're thinking about inclusive culture, so that belonging feature that we heard folks talk about with Youth Truth. Systems and structures, so what can we change and alter and fix together that creates that kind of space that we're looking for. Academics and curriculum, looking for adding representation and everybody's voice to what folks are studying. Discipline, trying to improve our policies and not change anything that we've already got, but add to it a restorative piece, et cetera. Data, we're really trying to focus on data as a way to help us look objectively at the problems and issues and things that we need to do better, and then respond accordingly. So our DEI committee used Youth Truth and other types of data and a bunch of interviews that I did with students over the last 2 years to get a real sense of what's going on with our community and again, create changes that make people feel like they belong. And also we're thinking about it through our staffing and staff development, thinking about making sure that we're hiring folks that look like everybody that walks around on our campus, and making sure that our staff development supports all of us to do that job of inclusion of everybody. So that's the framework. It's attached to our board agenda, so everybody can take a peek at that, but feeling proud about that. And Lewis told me, I don't want a list of all the things that you did. I just want a story. I'm like, oh no, only one story? I think what I can do is tell you that I've been doing a lot of talking to students, like I said, since I've taken this job. And it's been combinations of different kinds of really difficult conversations with racist posts and with personal experiences of being a BIPOC person on our campus and their stories. And the ultimate result of it all is that the feedback that I'm getting from those students is that they feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel like things are shifting. And they feel like there's a healing that's taking place. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Anita.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anita. This is really an important initiative, and it's like we've always said, it's a long-term, slow, deep, powerful process of change. It takes time for it to be sustainable and for it to stick. Otherwise, people do DEI programs all the time, and they have 3 assemblies and like 2 consultants, and the next year it's like gone. So we're not doing that. So cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you, Louis.
Okay. Chris, talk to us about what we're temporarily calling the Innovation Academy.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep this presentation pretty high level. I'll let Jenny cue that up. Tell a bit more of a story, as that's a theme. Yeah, stories are good. The details are in the attached item to the agenda. And I hope everyone, and the board obviously, but the public of interest has really taken a deep dive through that document. That document represents, the collective work that's been happening for 2.5 years. The work of the design team, the work of the administration, the collaboration with the staff, the work that went into the 7 LCAP meetings that we conducted last year, the work of the Community Schools Advisory Committee, the informal conversations that we have with people in the community, the conversations that we've had with folks that have left our district for non-comprehensive schools. So while that is a draft living document, it really represents the guiding principles and framework of what this new school will look like. So this school is going to be innovative and rigorous, as we've talked about. I'm going to show you a slide here in a second that's going to give you an idea of what integrated core content project-based learning will look like in terms of the student product and the students demonstrating their skills. And what I mean by core content integration is that the graduation requirements will focus on, all those that are in our board policies and that we've required here for years. The A through G requirements, the California state graduation requirements. So what we see is an opportunity to really assist the students in mastering those core content skills through solving real world problems and creating their own projects and collaborating and looking at opportunities for English to delve into engineering and for math and science to be woven in together with one another. Industry relevance will be embedded into all courses. We have an amazing comprehensive high school with outstanding career and technical education programs that focus specifically on any one given industry in a very structured, articulated pathway method. This will bring to light those industry opportunities and skills related to our local region through partnerships and guest speakers and businesses that we will connect with, where students can delve into those core content standards through their projects, and we'll be utilizing the makerspace on campus. And thanks to our partnership with Dale Doherty, that is what it's looking like. It's looking more like a classroom for design thinking, for project-based learning, for core content integration, and really bringing to life students bringing their ideas from mind to hand to project and leveraging. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Next slide, please, Jenny. Yeah, you were waiting. So we're really, really proud of the progress there. You can see that not only is there paint on the walls, but there's a new, epoxy flooring, there's equipment that lease agreement has really provided an opportunity, as Mary spoke to earlier in the meeting, for Dale to really bring all of his innovative ideas and the foundation of Maker Education, which we're also proud started here in West County, to life in this space for community use, but first and foremost for student use. I talked about core content integration and what it might look like in terms of the skills students may demonstrate. So what you see here is an engineering project, and it's obviously beyond my understanding the nuances of it, but I think the example shows evidence of students demonstrating their ELA skills, their math skills, and their science skills while completing this project. So this is what we envision in terms of how students, learn in integrated math or ELA 9 or earth, space, and physical science, the courses that we plan to offer that are required per our graduation standards, and then bringing to life those industry standards in a project-based learning and collaborative way. We're going to hire amazing teachers. We have a salary schedule that's second to none in Sonoma County, and it's going to allow us to attract and retain dynamic educators with more than one single subject credential and experience with project-based learning and integrated curriculum. We've talked about this. We're a destination district for students and staff, and we're excited that our positions are posted internally with priority and also on EdJoin concurrently. So we are very confident that our ability to attract the amazing teachers that have the talent that can do these things is going to happen. We're going to be financially solvent. Now, I'm not going to read you those numbers, but I spoke to this in the initial board item and gave you a snapshot of a year one budget. We've talked about the why in terms of the student interest, and we've talked about how we're going to make that happen in leveraging some of the operational positions at Laguna and co-locating 2 high schools on our amazing $100 million campus out in Forestville. So those of you who are very interested, I encourage you to take a deeper dive through the numbers and their sound. Helping students find their place. It's been something that we've talked about, post-consolidation, post-pandemic, the ever-changing demographics of our students, the 33% of our students that come from all over Sonoma County. The Innovation Academy is going to serve the needs and interests of students that just don't see themselves fitting at Annalee. It's going to allow us to retain those 101 students that we lost to neighboring districts that have small specialized high schools. We believe the Innovation Academy will become the gold standard for small, non-traditional high schools in Sonoma County. And I think ultimately we're going to see that it will attract students from neighboring districts, much like the Annalee program. I've got to credit that quote to Chuck. It inspired me in his first opportunity to conduct the outdoor rally. It really resonated, but his ending sentiment is that we want to help you find your place here. And I think that that's what we want for all students in West County and the greater Sonoma County as well, because we are that destination district. Some brief next steps. We talked about this a little bit in December when the board approved the new school. We're going to continue our ongoing educational partner engagement, in which we've been very diligent. We have a meeting tomorrow at Forestville in joint collaboration with Forestville Union, in which we will conduct the next Community Advisory Committee meeting. The meeting is in process scheduled with the Sebastopol partner districts, so that will be to be determined. We've obviously got an agenda item following this with the public hearing and the branding item for what we're referring to as the Innovation Academy. We plan to launch a school website. We've integrated the previous enrollment form and the basic information there into a digital Google form, which we believe is the evolution of some of our processes that are a little bit more archaic, and we wanted to start that with this Innovation Academy. So that will go live once the school is branded. The comprehensive document that's attached to this agenda item will go through some refinements once the school is branded. We're going to begin the enrollment process, determine additional transportation needs. I talked about communication and marketing, and I think we heard that loud and clear from Mary. We've been exploring ways to promote digital marketing for our district all programs. So we'll be talking about that at a future board meeting in terms of some potential investments that are going to help us to attract more students. And then Greg went through this in detail during the December 18th agenda item, but we obviously will be applying for CDS code, WASC accreditation, and A through G approval.
I'm going to make just a real quick comment, and then I think we're going to go to the public hearing. And I thought we'd go to the public comments at the beginning of the public hearing.
What they indicate. If the public hearing is an opportunity for anyone to speak for our board policy.
Mia,
If they indicated that it's attached to a specific item, now would be the time. If it's this item.
Mia, do you want to make your comment? Okay, come on up.
Is it on? Okay. Hello, good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Mia Del Preti. I'm a former employee of the district, and I am a longtime resident of this community. So I do have a statement to read, and I don't know if I have to adhere to a 3-minute, but I'm going to try to keep it to that. If not, I do have this that I could pass out to the board. Although I want to make sure that it's clear I'm not opposed to this new school, but I do have some serious concerns. And in a letter that I wrote to the superintendent and the Board of Education dated January 6th, I still have not seen evidence of the following items. I asked for a timeline with specific dates that tasks will be completed. There is a slide show that Chris just showed in the PowerPoint with next steps. However, there are no specific dates in order to complete those tasks. And I believe that that's an important part of these tasks that have to be completed before you open up a school in August. A clear multi-year budget. The current budget does not address items such as utilities, transportation, and food service. There's operating cost in the current budget included in the board agenda. It only addresses 2 FTE for teachers, the site funds, field trips, curriculum, and equipment. With more students and staff on the campus, I believe the cost of utilities and food costs will increase, yet there is not a line item for these costs. There is a FTE custodian 1 included in the staffing expenses, but I'm curious if this is the current custodian or if there's going to need to be an additional custodian. And under the line item equipment, is that for furniture and technology? And what exactly does that include? And I noticed that that's just a one-time expense. It's not factored into the multi-year projection. I'm also concerned about the recruitment budget. As we all know, it's costly to recruit students outside of the district, and there is not a line item in this budget that addresses that area. As we know, in the first interim report presented to the board in December, there is a projected enrollment for next school year of 1559 students, which does include the 9th grade students that we are expecting to attend our district next school year. If we expect 1559 students and still have to lay off 6 certificated, 2 classified, and 1 classified manager, how is a district going to support a new school without confirmation of new students from outside of the district and the lack of outside funds? The current budget only refers to LCFF enrollment, and at the district or at the board meeting in December, the superintendent reported that the district wasn't going to be getting the community grant, or it was likely that we wouldn't be getting that. The budget also reflects a 2.0 FTE teacher for the 25-26 school year, yet the report that was in the board agenda item refers to an additional 0.2 teaching staff for special education. And the district right now is advertising on EdJoin for 3 full-time teachers, a math, English, and science teacher. But the budget that's included in the item doesn't reflect the appropriate FTE. I'm looking for concrete evidence that the school will generate 30 new students outside of the district. If the district receives more than 30 applications outside of the district, what is the criteria to accept the students? Is there going to be a wait list for students? Is there going to be a denial process? And will there be a lottery drawing? I'm just curious how this is all going to pan out. This process should also be included in the timeline. So as of tonight, I'm really fearful that the district isn't ready to move forward based on the items that I just went through. And I do urge the board to ask for a comprehensive plan that outlines very specifically, including dates and an updated budget, so you know what you're moving forward with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. So now we're moving to a public hearing on, basically on the name, on branding. So
Open public hearing, tag the time
we're
for
opening
Karen,
a public hearing.
7:19.
Does anybody in the public have something to say about the naming of the new school? You want to come talk to us? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now it's on? Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Julie Ariello, as former board member and a retired teacher. And have been very supportive of the new program. And I think the name is really an important part of that. The name of the school will be the first impression. And it should be something that attracts new students from all over, not just West County. The goal of this new program is to inspire students not content with a comprehensive high school to give it a try. Basic marketing would suggest that we name the new school not after an old school. It makes sense to give it a new name. As much as El Molino was loved in this community, it did not share a common goal or philosophy with this new program. Therefore, I personally think it would be confusing for the community to name it after El Molino. This new school needs its own identity. It needs to have its own name and attract students from all other areas. It needs to reflect the uniqueness of the program. That's just my opinion. Again, I feel it would be extremely confusing to everybody. As Sean said, there's confusion out there. Is El Molino reopening? And I think naming it after El Molino would encourage that confusion. So I just wanted to state that. And I feel like it's kind of like, I really used to like to go to Outback, you know, for dinner. But if I opened a new restaurant with a totally different menu, I wouldn't name it Outback. It's the same concept to me. So I just want to say that.
Thank you, Julie. It's complicated. Anyone else like to speak to this? Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Jonah Crone. I'm a student, and I'd like to agree with what Julie said. I think we should try to appeal to new students and not former or still community members that used to go to El Molino. I think if we have a different direction for this school, which we obviously do, I think it's best that we give it a new name. I got an email from Chris Meredith about a survey for names, and I liked Russian River Academy. I think that was a good name for that. That's all I have to say, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, sorry. Public hearing is closed.
7:23.
I just wanted to tag on to what Chris was saying. The idea of this new school has been slowly growing on me. It's taken me a while to really understand what he and you guys have had in mind, because it's different and a little complicated, but it's making more and more sense. I'm a cabinet maker. I have a cabinet making business, and we recently took on a.
Which item?
I'm talking about the Innovation Academy update.
But we passed that item, so I think that
You got to move on to.
you got to move on to branding,
And let Chris.
launch it, and then I think that it's appropriate
Okay.
to give that update. Yeah, we got you.
Okay. We are now at the point where we're needing to make a decision about the name.
Yeah.
And do you want to introduce that?
Yeah, I'll introduce the
Now we
item.
have the survey.
Yes, sir. So, you know, we had a really, I think, good, heartful conversation in December 18th. The intent was always to ensure that, you know, we conducted a public hearing and had the board take formal action on branding. So the board and the district administration and the community folks that you know spoke on the 18th, I think that the input there and the direction from the board to us was to launch a survey. The very next evening, we had a really good joint collaborative meeting with Monterey and Fort Ross. Harmony, unfortunately, was unable to be there. You know, in that meeting, we facilitated the educational partner engagement around the 4 pillars, which has been what we've been conducting in those community advisory committee meetings. But then Dan put together a really nice activity for folks to kind of get some more brainstorming happening regarding the name. So we took the names that came out of that meeting and obviously, you know, what we heard from our community during the board meeting on the 18th and launched the survey. The survey was shared with all partner districts, so 9 partner districts. The survey was shared with Dale Doherty. We did our best to create the widest footprint possible with our communication channels, and it was obviously shared throughout our district community. Survey had almost 700 responses. We've synthesized that information to help the board with this difficult decision. And now you are all tasked with naming the school. And I think that what we've all determined is that it's about building a great school. We heard some really, I think, thoughtful comments this evening. And it's got to be a name that obviously the board chooses, that the community feels good about. But we're really focused on building a sound school that has an educational experience that really serves kids in a different way. So that's my intro to the item. I think that the board and Lewis, you've had, you know, you have some ideas on how to facilitate this conversation. It's time for y'all to discuss your thoughts and you know, after that, once we felt like we flushed it out and are in a place where you're feeling good, one of y'all can make a motion and we can have a second. We'll name our school.
So maybe to start, what if we just kind of go around and take whatever, a minute, and say where your current thinking is and know that it's not final. The idea is that as we go around and even just hearing things tonight, I can feel my opinion changing, and that's okay. But I'd like us to get the consensus and not have it be a 3-2 vote. You know, let's see if we can all get to a place where we feel in agreement. So it's like kind of like a straw man at this point, like put where you think you're at and know that you have every opportunity to be persuaded by others. So Rio, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll start. Well, so I want to say first that I'm glad we did a survey. I think that was a great idea. And I'm grateful for the community as well for all of the responses too. I think it was great. I heard a lot about it out in the community too. So I think it got a lot of input and just like that is fantastic. And based upon the results, the fact, I mean, it's pretty clear to me which option I would go with, and that is the El Molino Academy. And it is because it had the fewest amount of bad votes, which was a concern in our previous discussion, was that would there be some angst there, and that helped there. And it had the highest amount of great votes as well. I am curious about the point that Sean brought it up as well about there being some confusion about exactly what the name is for. But I still think that the data here kind of tells me where the community is, and so that is where I would put my vote.
Great, thank you.
Well, I agree. The votes on the survey are substantially for El Molino Academy. And I was talking to somebody about this week, and they said, no matter what you call it, it's always going to be El Molino. People are always going to say, oh, it's out of El Molino. It's like for Crest Market, Fiesta, Pacific Market. For those of us who've lived here, will always be Fiesta, no matter what. I mean, we could name it Go to Mars, and it would still be El Molino. So my feeling right now, I agree. I mean, the voting is substantially in favor. It has the most great votes, least terrible votes. It's a location, it's an identity that's been established. I have to go with the votes. We don't put out surveys for nothing, I don't think. So I'm good with that one.
Right, thank you. I actually am not in favor of naming it El Molino Academy. The most descriptive one on this first page is West County Innovative Arts Academy. And my main reason for not being for El Molino Academy is that it's not the El Molino High School that people think it is, or want it to be. That's a better way of saying it. It's not the El Molino that people want it to be. And you know, there is a movement out there to reopen El Molino, and it doesn't mean that this school wouldn't exist if that happened. It would be confusing if it ever did, even though we've heard many times that it's extremely unlikely that it would happen. And also, I actually had the same thought as Julie's comment. It's a new school, and I think you know, maybe a different conversation, but a better way to I mean, to your point, Linda, is that I think we should name the campus the El Molino campus and have you know, we could have Laguna High School on the El Molino campus, and whatever the name of this school ends up being on the El Molino campus. So, and I know that the survey is overwhelmingly in favor of El Molino Academy. I'm just not for it.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to concur with Sean on this one. And Julie and our young man that spoke, for a lot of the same reasons. And I think that all we will do is confuse everybody. And if also you will remember, we had a group of teachers that were here and staff members at our last meeting who were adamantly opposed to El Molino Academy or using the El Molino name. And I want to honor that for them as well. I like the West County Innovative Academy. I don't think it should say arts because this is not just an arts program at all. So I wouldn't want to use the name arts in there, but you're right, it is the most descriptive name of what it is that we're talking about. I think that I love your idea, Sean, about naming the campus El Molino campus, because that's what we all call it. It's what everybody, it's Fiesta, it's Furcrest, it's, you know, it's whatever those names are. Everybody kind of dances around. Do we call it El Molino? Do we call it the Forestville campus? Forestville has another campus. It's called Forestville Elementary School. And that I have found confuses people when you talk about the Forestville campus. They're like, oh, so it's at Forestville Elementary School. No, like, oh, okay. The former El Molino campus. Oh, they're like, oh, okay. So I think we're kind of I think that's a really brilliant idea. And I think then the other schools fall under there. It's the Laguna High School at the El Molino campus. It's the West County Innovative Academy at El Molino campus. It's our iAcademy at El Molino campus. Um, and it makes it a destination then. And we want to be a destination district. So let's make that a destination then. That's my thought.
I'm incredibly conflicted. We had 646 responses to the survey with a school of 1,500 students. That's a significant amount of data. I was surprised. I really didn't think that El Molino was going to have, for the reasons that Sean has stated, I didn't think it was going to rate very high. And also, Linda, what you said about we don't want to do surveys and get input from the public and then just make our own damn mind up anyway. That's, so I'm incredibly conflicted. It's possible that the folks wanting to name the school El Molino Academy will be somewhat pleased if we're really clear about El Molino campus. I think it helps that. So,
Gives them what they're looking for.
yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
It's still on.
That's for an, yeah. So I think for this round, I'm gonna either go for Innovation Academy or West County Academy. Just to shorten it. Rio, anything changed with you, or are you still firmly
I
where you
mean,
started?
I'm still where I was. I do enjoy the term innovation, and I wouldn't mind throwing that on there. But I don't think that I don't think that people are gonna call schools by their name and then add at the campus. I just don't see that as being a reasonable trade-off.
I don't see it as a. I didn't think of it as a trade-off. I think that it's keeping the El Molino name alive on that campus without naming a new school the name of the old school. So
We do have Laguna High School or we could have Laguna at the El Molino.
And I agree with you. No one's gonna say Laguna at El Molino.
No, they're not.
They're just gonna say Laguna High School.
Yeah, true.
But we constantly talk about that campus when we talk about facilities and things we're doing, and there's a confusion as to what we call it. Is it El Molino or is it the Forestville campus? And I think it's high time that we actually made a decision on what we're going to really call it. And I say let's call it what it is. It's the El Molino campus. It's what we know it as.
For a few pieces of insight, really brief. Yeah, there'll be public comment as well for this. Just a few pieces of insight on the concept of branding the campus. That came to light over a year ago from some of our conversations with El Molino community members. I know that Mary Fricker was really keen on that idea. I've heard different perspectives. I bumped into an El Molino alum just at Mary's Pizza Shack, played ball for Mike Rohn when I was head football coach at Pioneer. He remembers the games that we played against each other. And I kind of floated the idea. Every chance I've gotten, I've shared this with folks when I know they're from our community. I think that there are a lot of people who really like the idea of honoring the El Molino name. We know that. But I think the opportunity to brand the campus is something very intriguing. And then, you do have an opportunity to, not create confusion regarding what this school looks like, what it is. And I think we also heard from some folks that opposed the El Molino name is that we're not recreating what was El Molino in terms of the educational program and the experience. I just floated it by a couple superintendents of our partner districts, and they, could see that this was a tough decision. But we're really positive in terms of the idea of branding the campus. So again, I just want a great school. I want something the community feels good about, but I wanted to share those insights with you.
Part of the conflict in my mind is that I'm very sensitive to the way that the naming happened when the consolidation happened, and the West County High School back to Annalee. I wasn't there. Few of us were. I think it's extremely problematic how that went down. So I'm sensitive to wanting to try to create some redress to that wound. And I'm not sure how that plays out. And it's double-sided. I mean, even wanting to be sensitive to that, what you're saying is to not use the name. So it's complicated. So we need to get to some kind of consensus. Yeah, Jonah, you want to say something?
As we were talking about the El Molino campus, I think if we had that same survey with naming the high school something different, but giving some historic accreditation to the campus or maybe a placard or something, I think people would have answered it a lot differently. I think the way the survey was, it didn't really allow for that, and obviously that's because we didn't come up with that idea yet. But I think a lot of people would be happy with having a new high school because that's still not Elmo. It's not the same program. It's not what they, I mean, it would probably have different spirit and colors and things like that. It's not the same Elmo, but still having that historical credit to the campus. I think people would be happy about that.
Greg.
I think that you have to be really careful with surveys because of who chooses to answer them is significant. And also, it just cracks me up how we're looking at this from a total adult view. Because being at Laguna every week, they do not call it the El Molino campus. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with calling it that, but that is not what the kids call it. So that I just wanted to throw that out.
What do they call it?
They call it Laguna.
Laguna. Yeah. Yeah.
It is their school.
Which is
and
another piece in being sensitive
just-
about this too.
I'm
is-
just telling you that's another.
Those kids are gonna need to call something.
That's right. Yeah, I understand. But, and I'm not saying I disagree with the El Molino campus. I just wanted you to know that that's an adult perception. It's not the kids' perception. To them, their school is Laguna.
Greg, can you enlighten us?
Yeah, so for what it's worth, so this is my third year in this role, and as someone who came from not West County community, it drove me nuts that it was always referred to as Laguna High School because I wanted our kids and our staff to feel like it was theirs. I think we have that, and I think my sentiment has changed a little bit over the years because we can build that on our campus. And when we invite people for career day and guest speakers, they go Laguna High School, and they still Google Laguna High School and it goes to 445 Taft Street. And they go, well, where is the campus? And I say, it's the old Elmo campus. And they all know where that is. So to some people's point, it's always going to be the El Molino campus. That doesn't mean we can't build a great environment for our Laguna students, and we call it Laguna High School when we're there. And whatever we decide to name this new school, and keep in mind, as we talk about the community schools and Dale's Makerspace, and having that be a community space, if the community is already calling it El Molino, they refer to it as El Molino campus, it doesn't make sense to me to try to keep fighting that battle, calling it Forestville or something else, right? it is what it is, and a longstanding tradition. So the other thing I think too is, as we talk about, as a kid growing up in Santa Rosa, we would come play El Molino. We were going to play the Lions. I don't know that my understanding is, sports wise, we're trying to have our students tie that in with Annalee. We're not planning on having sports teams and things like that. So it's just a thought in my head is, do we want to rename this El Molino and without the Lions and that pride behind the Lions and the things that made that a really awesome place in school spirit? So food for thought. I don't know. This is just from someone who's coming from outside the community who, damn proud of the program we have and our kids and what we build on that campus. But whatever that's worth.
So if you had to vote for a name right now, what would you say? No, it's data. We need input.
I think I would go for El Molino campus. And when I think about this school, I think, man, we're trying to do something radically different, right? Innovation Academy, like some iteration of that. I think it's broad enough. It gives us wild flexibility to be wildly different.
I really wanted to see this school be a fresh start and be something new. And talking it in the community the last years, it's been a tactic to how to avoid some of the pain and difficulties that are out in the community. Recognize those are real, but that wasn't my thing in looking at this. It was to do something new for students. And that's why words like innovation or innovative, I just want to explain to you, the reason I put arts in there, we used to have industrial arts programs. And that's kind of what VocEd was also. But I think they're outdated relative to the world we're going into. So to me, it's teaching kids the art of doing things. It is, to me, innovation sounds business-like to me, and I was trying to get innovative in there to something that might appeal to kids. Like, I want to be innovative. I want to do things, and I have art interests as well as technical interests. So, be able to combine engineering and design is really, computation, other things. So here, that's the goal here. I've always liked the idea of the campus name because that's what in practice we use. So we say the public library at El Molino already, whether we call campus or not. So, and I think, one thing I really connect to people on here is that is a beautiful, extraordinarily beautiful campus. And if we can make that really well used by the community, not just this school. I mean, in some ways, the break is that the school was the campus. And now we think, you can have a library there. You could have healthcare, childcare. You could have sports activities, clubs, other things going on there. It's a beautiful campus. I had someone out from Big Picture Learning, head of Big Picture Learning out there last week and walking around. He goes, wow, this is amazing. We walk into the library, the former library, and say, this is where the kids are going to meet in the morning. They go, fantastic. What a place. And then the makerspace. So I already have a lot of pride about what we're building. I don't so much care too much. But I really like Julie's comments. And I think this, Louis, what you said, it's kind of, I'm trying to stay away from West County too, because that was someone said here last time when you go in there and say, I'm going to El Molino, which kids would say if it was El Molino Academy, they go, oh, didn't that close? Right. And if you type into Google, you'll end up as somewhere. So I'm arguing whatever seems fresh, like Jonah said, and I appreciated his comments. Because it came out of the teachers here last time, I was kind of attracted to Russian River Academy, just the nature and the space there and the location. That is something also to think about, but unless there was some other school called Russian River, but was there a Russian River charter? Yeah, so that's someone that I'll throw out there. Just the river would be okay too. But it's a beautiful image, to work with. But so anyway, just in the past, I think innovation. I always thought, whatever you guys call it, I'm going to call it School for the Innovative Arts underneath it, as I help to market it. Because as you were saying, we've got to. That's why we need a decision on this. We got to get out and market. I got to start having open houses. I got to say, this is what it is. We're going to be behind the ball on a number of things, but I think this meets the needs of our community in unique ways, and that's kind of what Chris and Greg and I have worked on. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lynn Gleason, and I just want to bring up an experience that I had. So I ran for board trustee back during COVID in 2020. And what I experienced was the community did not know what was going on. They didn't even know that there was a possibility. Well, now it's the closure of El Molino. And so I do have a concern in that the community hasn't been reached on this. And my initial thought when we first started talking about this, well, that's a way to bring El Molino's name back. Then we heard comments from others at the last meeting, and it sounded like maybe that's not a good idea. And my concern is that also in what Sean brought up, that people are thinking that El Molino's coming back. I'm sorry to say that that beautiful campus isn't coming back as El Molino High School. And so that's the concern that I have. I would like to see the school be innovative. I liked Russian River Academy, but that doesn't mean it has to be Russian River Academy. I was kind of open on that. But I would like a new start. It always is going to be the El Molino campus to all of us that have been in this community forever. And so that name is always going to be running around. But I really would urge the board to think about what I experienced, the anger that occurred during all that time, the frustration of the community. And I just don't want to see that happen to this new name.
We're trying.
Now, yes. I feel we should honor the El Molino name, maybe add a little flair to it, but this school named it how many years ago? I think it should say the same. We know the school's going to be different, and that will be the job of everybody here to make it known that it's going to be a little different of a school. But honor the El Molino name that has been there all this time that this school named years ago.
And you are?
I'm Lori Todd.
Thank you, Lori.
Is it possible, and I don't know if I actually enjoy this idea, but we could have the whole name include it. So Innovation Academy at El Molino, something like that as the full name. Might be a way of kind of doing backwards. Campus plus new.
Well, that's the idea of naming the campus. So you're saying El Molino Academy.
That would be the name.
At.
University of California. I mean, it's not a clear same thing, but there's other things that kind of say where they're at and who names.
CDS code purposes, it's a long name, data listings, but I think that in branding and in our website, all of our documents, the short infographic that Dale and I are going to work on, he sent me a draft, and we want to start building out our web page and look at ways to get it out there. And I think that the branding of the campus is an informal decision that I think that we've heard a lot of really good input on. What we actually name the school, that's going to be in all of the databases. That's going to go in our CDS code application. So just something to consider.
I want to throw out a suggestion. I heard it kind of talking about over here. Academy of Innovative Arts. uses Dale's explanation of what that is. And I really believe using the word academy makes people have a feeling of, ooh, this is something special. And this is something special. So let's give it a special name. That's my thought.
All right, I'm going to float an idea again, same idea, just to see if it sticks. Innovation Academy at the El Molino campus. Would you be opposed to that? Okay, so we brand the campus the El Molino campus. If you ask where it is, it's the,
Yeah, I like the name. I like us branding the campus, El Molino campus. Absolutely. I think Sean's idea is fantastic.
how do you feel about Innovation Academy?
I'm okay with that.
Sean, how do you feel about that? Linda, how do you feel about
okay
that?
with that.
Can you live with that?
I mean, like I kind of understand that the survey is not necessarily, I mean, it's biased for sure, and it's tough to say without the data why it's not. But I mean, it's about a clear of a result as like you can get, and I don't know, going away from that seems, I don't know, seems hard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to make a motion?
Well, I want to try to see if we can work with Rita a little bit before we have a 4-1 vote, which is not ideal. So,
Do you guys like innovation or innovative? I think Dale made a good point. I'd be happy either way. When you think
I don't care.
Dale,
either
what
way.
did you like?
Academy of Innovative Arts. Yeah, I like
Mm,
I like that.
I like Academy of Innovative Arts.
I'd
Or Academy, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, that's where we kind of got inspired to have a baseline.
well, Rita, I guess at this point in this kind of process, it's like you could dig your heels in, which is totally appropriate. There's wisdom in the dissent, right? So you may be seeing something that we're all missing, and that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing that I'll just throw out there is that, according to the data here, it seems to be like people preferred ones that had names tied to the location in some way, more so than ones that didn't. So, but I mean, that's probably about as far as I can go in terms of.
Did Jonah's comment ring true for you at all, saying that if the survey had been put out there with the campus name as El Molino, do you think the results would have been different?
So I agreed with you that I was surprised at the results. So why our expectations didn't meet up with kind of the results certainly has like some concern, like maybe it wasn't clear, like maybe it just went out, or that it was just answered by people in one group and just like not in the other group, or that they are thinking it's going to be opening up the same school that once was there that sadly got closed. So that is a concern. So I mean, I do agree with that, and I do hear that the rest of the board is more on the heels of wanting a fresh start, is kind of what I'm hearing. So I mean, I can work with the board to come up with that fresh start name.
Thank you. So if you were going to propose a name that had something to do with innovation, arts, and academy or something similar, what would you propose?
I
Well, that's
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the Russian river name as well. Russian river, like Innovation Academy. Um, I think the score. That was the second highest. I mean, I think there's something to say to have the name have something to do with where it's at.
Mhm.
I would stay away from West County.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I'm interested to hear what the rest.
Okay, thank you.
With them just like, yeah.
I'm sorry this is getting so tedious, but it's complicated and we've got to drill down to it and wrestle it to the ground and be done. So,
You got to come to the microphone, sorry, some people at home can hear you.
I think a problem that we get into when we start naming it based on where it is the name gets too long. I think Academy of Innovative Arts, it sounds new. It says what it is, right? It's innovative arts. And I think I do like the name Academy. I think it creates some a level of interest there. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
Julie speaking, then we can.
I think when you include a location, it's limiting. I think that if you stick with a name that does not include a location, it opens it up to being welcoming to more of the community than just West County.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think if we're not going with the top vote getter, I think we should jump off the deep end and go with something that's totally different, like Jeannie, because this is what this is. It's totally different. Let's not tie it to Russian River because that could be negative for people coming from other schools, other areas. Let's make it a banner. Let's make it like, oh my gosh, what we're doing here is special. And that's what I think that name would be. That's what I have to say.
And what would that name be in your mind?
Jeannie. I love that Academy of Innovative Arts. I just think it rings.
Is anybody?
It sings.
Sean, can you live with that? Rio, can you live with that? Okay, I know you're not, but that's okay. Yeah. All right, you want to make a motion, Jeannie?
All right,
Sean?
I move that we name the new school Academy, what was it?
Of Innovative Arts.
Academy of Innovative Arts.
Second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor? Oh my God, more discussion? Is there any further discussion? What? No.
I just want to say that I do appreciate the process we've gone through and the discussion. So.
And I appreciate your opposing. It's important. Yeah. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Done.
I have direction too, I think, in consensus that we will, as we've gone back and forth from the Forestfield campus, Laguna campus, that we will leverage the branding of that campus as well. And we will name the new school the Innovative Arts, the Academy of Innovative Arts. Thank you.
Dang.
Oh, please don't change it now.
It's perfect. Thank you. I would like to call the makerspace the Mill, which is one of the names that came up there. And so I don't know if you need to approve that, probably not, but when it came up last week, I thought that's, machines and people. Cool. And it's a history of that. That's really nice. And, so.
I think that the only concern there is some of the feedback and really compelling comments that were made regarding taking the Spanish out of El Molino. And we heard that at the Community Advisory Committee meeting, and we received a few of those sentiments. And so I think if you look at the policy that's attached to this item, that would be naming a facility and would then need to entail that process. And we just went through that process for the branding of the campus and the naming of the school. So I think, Dale, we need to bring that back at a future time. If we really want to do that, just to do it formally, because there is the policy there.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Moving on. Consideration of approval of a new text in English. Do we? Bye, Julie.
Thank you, Jonah. I know she gets to leave.
She gets to leave now.
Jonah's coming back, okay.
I have to go to the bathroom. Will you
Yeah.
hear this?
Yes. Okay, we are going to move on to Education Services, number I, consideration of approval of new text for English. Chris? Motion. So can I get a motion on this, please?
Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Rio.
Yeah, this is a second reading of the texts that were brought before the board. The books have been on display beginning December 19th. So now we just need the board's final blessing.
Is there any discussion on this item? All in favor? Aye. 4-1 with Lewis absent. Okay, we're move on. Sorry. I just got a message also from a member that's on the Zoom that we really need to speak into our microphones. They're not hearing us. So that's why I pulled this a little close. Number 6, consideration of approval of resolution number 9, January 2024-25 regarding African American Black History Month. Can I get a motion on this, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Linda. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, this is the next resolution in our efforts to acknowledge the Pride Month, or the months that are recognized at the federal and state level regarding heritage. So, we're excited about the work that our DEI committee has done. Want to give credit again, to our students that brought forth the initiative to pass the first resolution of our series of resolutions. And so this is a roll call vote. I'll leave it to the board to make this official.
Sorry. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay. Or on number 6, you want me to just finish it,
Go for it,
Lewis?
yeah,
Okay. All right, so it is a roll call vote. Rio?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Lewis?
Aye.
Jeannie? Aye. All approved. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Consideration approval of course request name change for Math Essentials course.
Motion. Motion.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
So, I think our staff's doing a really good job of looking at increasing student interest. So that was the integrity behind this. It is Math 3, but it had been previously named Math Essentials. So what I heard from the staff is that they believe this will help to encourage more students to attend.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Consideration of approval of new course request teaching internship. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'm excited about this one. I think that we've done some work to really, hone in on the new educational code changes that happened in 2016 regarding teachers' assistants. And we know that our 7-period day is really dynamic in nature, but it allows students to accelerate to the point where their junior year, they have a free period. Their senior year, they have 2 free periods. So I think in addition to giving this a little bit more framework and educational content, the site's also been looking at really finding ways to make those free periods valuable. I think this is evidence of that. So I'll leave it to the board for a vote and we'll let the site go to work.
Discussion, questions? All those in favor?
I have a,
Yes, please.
just a quick comment. This is going to be a real change to what our students have been doing. Normally a teacher looks for an aide, or there's a student that needs a period or whatever. And so they, go to a teacher and they become their TA, and sometimes they're used and sometimes they're not. And, sometimes they take role and sometimes they help with, doing, making copies, or I don't know. This is going to be a big difference and a big change. I think we will find ourselves with fewer students involved. Am I correct, do you think?
I don't think that Chuck and his team believe so. I'll let Chuck speak to that, but I think, it's all about how it's communicated to students.
Yeah,
Chuck, do you have any
I'd like
insights
to hear
there?
Chuck a minute on this.
Yeah, I think we want the student experience to be meaningful and purposeful, right? So there are opportunities to improve how we're using, teaching assistants, or what we're going to call now teaching interns in the classroom. There's also an opportunity to get those students college credit and credit for internship experiences toward the college and career indicator on the dashboard, if we think a little bit differently about how we're doing this. There will be a little bit more of a barrier for students, in the sense that they're going to have to apply for this course. There's also going to be a little bit more work on the part of the educators, because they really do need to mentor the students, to provide some structure to their experience, to evaluate their work a little bit. So it does bring a little more rigor to that experience, and that is intentional. If it does reduce, the number of students in TA periods, then I think, the benefit of the more meaningful experience for students really outweighs that. We do think we have many sort of developing options for students other than a free period or TA period. We're working hard on the early college credit piece, which you guys have heard about. We have many internship opportunities that we haven't had before. We think this is another way to get that more meaningful experience for students.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to hear a little bit from you on that. Thank you.
Further questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
First read of recommended CSB policy updates.
Yeah, you don't need a motion. It's first read. So, if there's no particular questions of the board or public comments, I don't have much to say. I think that, our philosophy on our contract with CSBA is as such. They outline the, specific board policies recommended to make sure that districts adhere to legislation, educational code, and law. And, in my 2.5 years, we've revised many policies, and there are some that require the district to look at, specific practices, but we really like to keep things kind of boilerplate at baseline, and then when necessary, add some of those custom things that may entail the practices here within our district. So I give that sentiment because this is the first of many CSBA policy updates, and it's a collective effort with our cabinet team and obviously the work that Karen does to help front load that. So your introduction to your first reading of many.
And you're welcome to, if you haven't already, to read all of the updates.
Can I please make a recommendation that if the rest of the board doesn't have a problem, that we move these to consent calendar for next meeting?
You can do
Everybody
that
okay
for
with
our
that?
current board policy.
I agree.
For board
Yes,
policy.
Okay.
You have that
Thank you,
direction.
Jeannie. That's a really good idea. Okay, going on to the world of business.
All right,
Consideration of approval of the 23-24 audit report.
motion.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So each year we have our audit report for the prior fiscal year. So we have our audit report for June 30, ending June 30, 2024. I want to thank staff for all their hard work in putting everything together. It takes a lot to get everything uploaded to the auditor, Christy White, and really working with them, and really enjoyed working with Monique Manzow, who is our audit supervisor for this year. It was a really great experience to work on the audit, and I'll turn it over to Monique for her to present the audit report.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, Superintendent and members of the board, members of cabinet. Thank you again for having me. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Monique Manzo, a supervisor with Christy White. I'd like to start off with just a little overview of the audit process and procedures, and then end with our opinions over the district's financial statements as well as federal and state awards. So during interim, which normally occurs during spring, we're really focused on the district's internal controls over financial reporting processes and state compliance. So with internal controls, we're testing the district's design and effectiveness of controls to prevent, detect, and correct misstatements due to error or fraud. And we do this by selecting a sample of cash receipts, cash disbursements, and payroll transactions. As mentioned, that we do look at state compliance. So we complete audit procedures that are published within the annual LEA state audit guide that are applicable to the district. So for 24-23 school year, Proposition 28 was new, both at the district level and the audit level. Because the district expended more than $750,000 in federal funds, we were required to complete a single audit. So this year we looked at the Education Stabilization Fund program, which is your ESSER and GEAR program or funding. And here we're looking at internal controls and program compliance. In the fall, thank you. In the fall, this normally occurs after the board has approved unaudited actuals. We're looking at ending account balances. So we're looking at your ending cash balance, accounts receivable, accounts payable, capital assets, long-term debt, as well as revenue and expenditures. So moving on to audit responsibilities, who's responsible for what part of the audit? Well, the district's management is responsible for the design and implementation of effective internal controls over those financial reporting processes that I spoke about earlier, as well as the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. Our responsibility is to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement and to provide related audit opinions. Just to know, our opinion does not address the financial condition of the district, and these are normally discussed, at your normal board meetings. The summary of audit results can be found on page 79 of the printed audit report. So this is I feel, the go-to table that everyone, turns to. It's a nice table that summarizes our audit opinions and the audit results. So financial statements, we issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best possible audit opinion you can receive. So congratulations to the district on that. There were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. Therefore, there were no findings. For federal awards, as I noted, we tested the Education Stabilization Fund. Again, an unmodified opinion. No material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were noted there, so no findings. Moving on to state awards, again, an unmodified opinion and no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were identified, and there were no findings. And just to give a status of prior year findings, it looks like the district had 2 state award related findings last year, one for independent study and another for unduplicated LCFF pupil counts. We found that the district's corrective actions for both of these findings were implemented in 23-24 school year. So again, like I said, there were no findings for this year. And likewise, Andrew, I just want to thank Andrew and his team for their assistance and hard work for the 23-24 audit. It was my first year auditing your district, and it was a pleasure with working with everyone. Are there any questions I can answer?
All right, thank you, Monique.
Thank you.
Of course.
Good job. No findings. So we need to approve the audit report, it seems. Any questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor? Aye, good job. It's such a big deal to have really, really good financial statements and control and be able to get them explained with layman's talk when we need it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Demographic study update. Can we, oh, this is just information? Okay.
Yeah, so again, we've been working the past few years with King Consulting to look at our demographic study to kind of take into account what's been happening within birth rates, students coming up through our feeder districts into ours. So King has really been looking at that and helping us guide us through the projections for our demographic study. And Rob will present the updates for this year.
All right, well, thank you very much for that introduction and for your flexibility with letting me zoom in tonight to present this information to you. My name is Rob Murray. I'm the Director of Demographics here at King, and we'll go ahead and get into it. So if we can move to our overview here, we'll go ahead and spoil some of the ending. But we're still looking at a lot of the same patterns that we've been looking at, which is since peaking in total enrollment more than 20 years ago in the 02-03 school year, most years, year-over-year enrollment has gone down. You did see a very slight increase this year, and we'll get into some of the details on how that happened and what it means going forward. But that really is still looking at a persistently decreasing population of school-age individuals. And so various things we're going to look at on some level. Particularly as a high school district, you have a very, very quick turnaround of that incoming 9th grade cohort. How do they compare in size to those seniors that left from the year before? Because they're essentially directly taking their place in your schools. We want to look at what's going on, what we call net migration. That could be net cohort growth, but how are your existing students who you would expect to come back from one year to the next? What actually is happening with how their size is changing? What's going on with patterns of non-resident students or interdistrict transfers? And to what extent, if any, is residential development going to offset anything? So let's go in and hit some of these in a little bit more detail, excuse me, but we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. And this is just a quick look back over the previous decade. As you see, you had been decreasing more years than not, a couple of years with some small uptick, including the most recent year. But at this point now, over 400 students lower than where you were at the start of the previous decade. We can go ahead and move to the next slide. Just a quick reminder, again, you probably are well aware, but you have these 10 elementary school districts who all feed into you geographically in terms of your base student population. And so we'll go to the next slide and have a look at, excuse me, what we're seeing with the enrollment trends there. And that is, again, no surprise, going down slightly earlier in the decade. Some really big drops around 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic, which we saw in a lot of places. And you'll see, looking at the bars on top, what looks like a little bit of an upshoot again, but keeping in mind that at the elementary level, you have the expansion of the transitional kindergarten program. So that's adding new students on top of the bottom line total, but not necessarily increasing the age cohorts. But if we do look at that last column of all the numbers, 24, 25, we just want to look at kind of waiting in the wings lately. In 8th grade, you have just over 500 something kids recently. If you go back a decade, you were up into the 600s. If you look up that column, you'll see, even those kids who are coming in now with those middle school populations in the 500s were populations of elementary school kids in the 400s a few years ago. Right now, you have largely populations in the early elementary grades in the 300s. So you really see this pipeline is just slowing down some for you. And particularly, I want you to just put a pin in and remember that fourth grade cohort that you see right now of 362 kids, which is a big drop off from the fifth grade cohort of 404. We'll come back to that. But the little bit of optimistic good news is first grade, it's not just a mirage of TK. You did get up above 400 kids in a cohort for the first time in a few years. So it looks like there might be the beginnings of a reversal of this trend. We'll have to keep an eye on that in the future. But again, as a high school district, largely this is the roadmap that we're looking at in terms of, again, it's hardly all of your population. We heard reference earlier tonight of how many students you have attracted to your district who don't live within your boundaries, but this is still the foundation of your population. And you can just see who's there waiting in the wings to come on over the next several years. So let's go ahead and move to our next slide, please. And this one, if you've seen my presentations the last couple of years, you've seen this slide or something similar to it, but just a good reminder, this is just from the last 3 full count censuses, no estimates here. And just again, back around the time when you were near your peak enrollment, over 11,000 people under the age of 18 living in the boundaries of your school district. And you see how that has just been dropping even over between 2010 and 2020, when the total population stayed close to the same, you still had a demographic shift of an aging population. So we'll go ahead and move to another slide. And just a quick recap, we did, looked at, to the extent that you have a little bit of development that might occur, how many students that you will get from both single-family detached and affordable housing. That's based on looking at relatively recent developments, really to the extent that 100% affordable housing is something that happens within your communities. That would be perhaps a noteworthy source of new students, but this is really a relatively minor effect alongside the much, much bigger demographic shifts that we were just looking at in terms of just that continued decrease in school-age population. But yes, more affordable housing will certainly attract more of those younger families with school-age children back into your community. So next slide, please. Now this one is a little interesting because here we're looking at, you take all of your 9th through 11th graders in the year before. And again, if you were off on an island where it was very hard to get into or out of your district, you would expect this to be almost flat. In reality, people move into and out of the district all the time, not even necessarily physically. You might have more transfers in from out of the district, which, not to spoil what we think is happening here. But after being pretty persistently negative the last 2 years, you're actually seeing net growth in terms of your existing cohorts. Now, again, a much bigger thing is honestly how many 12th graders do you have going out versus new 9th graders coming in the next year. But of those 9th through 11th graders who turn into 10th through 12th graders, you are, for the first time in a while, actually seeing net growth from year to year in that. So that is an emerging trend that speaks well for your ability to have something that's offsetting some of these other trends going on. So next slide, please. So here is a bunch of numbers, and we're going to go through and highlight a few things. Because what you see here is actually a small uptick in growth next year, and we can go ahead and go to the next slide, where we should see some graphics pop on. I hope to highlight a couple of spells here. There we go. And so this is what I was talking about with that cohort replacement. You have a relatively small 12th grade class in the current year. They, for the most part, move on from your school district. And then next year, we expect slight, about the same, but slightly more 9th graders to come in, plus on net, a little bit of gains. And that actually leads to projected enrollment growth of around 20 students. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, because if you're looking ahead, you'll see what is going on with that big drop where we go from 1510 all the way to 1467. And this is where, again, looking at those 8th graders aren't included in your total, but just to see who is waiting in the wings every year to make up the bulk of your population for incoming 9th graders. Remember I said that very small 4th grade cohort. You see them show up as 8th graders in 4 years, and then you see a very, very small incoming 9th grade size the next year, which is directly taking the place of a cohort that is estimated to be about 50 students larger after it departs. And that's the kind of big one-time drop that is hard to offset with other smaller factors. Now, that said, again, you look at the very end of that 8th grade row, that is, I mentioned that current 1st grade cohort that is up above 400, which you haven't seen in a while. So the year after our usual 7-year projection window, you might start seeing, again, the reversal of this. So kind of hitting out to in kind of the lower half of the 1400s, and then you should start possibly seeing bigger 9th graders coming in and taking the place of smaller groups of graduating seniors. So again, we'll keep an eye on this. There's a lot that can change. We're just at the edge of where we're talking about kids that haven't even begun to enroll in your feeders yet. But that's what we're seeing with the basic pattern. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is just going to be a quick review of that spatial analysis, which again indicates that you have a lot and more than you did last year in terms of raw numbers, and therefore by percentage as well, since your enrollment is almost the same, of your students who are coming in from outside the district, largely, if we're just looking at by the city of residence, that's coming from Santa Rosa, but a lot of other communities in the county. It is all Sonoma County, but you can see how those numbers break down. And if we go one more slide, we just have a little summary, which we have included in the last couple of studies, looking at the previous school boundaries, which includes a choice area of the Annalee and the El Molino high school areas, just to see how those populations stack up. And what we're really seeing here is those non-resident or inter-district students approaching just about consistently the same numbers that you have in the two, either of the two previous high school areas. So again, that was a very quick overview of some of the big takeaways from the report, and certainly happy to answer questions or speak to anything in a little bit more detail if anyone would like to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great. And thank you for moving that right along. It was really helpful and interesting. So thank you. You know, we have so many transfers in, and we just believe that we're going to continue that. Maybe we're foolish, but we're going to create new schools and new programs and better teachers, and we're just going to get more kids that want to come here. So,
Lewis?
Yes.
I just wanted to say I'm really heartened to see the future down the road of quite a number of years down, but looking at what our community feeder districts are going to feed us. And that's really, thank you for that information. It always kind of lifts up our spirits when we see that. It's not this complete down trend that we see a little bit of an uptick. Also, it is very interesting to see the number of students that are coming from out of our area. And I'm going to say we are lucky. We are very lucky that we get those students. And I think with our new academy, I think we're going to hopefully see that increase as well. So I'm very heartened by that.
Yeah, I think one thing that's inspiring to me, obviously I'm a new father, daughter's 1, our plan is to attend Gravenstein on an interdistrict transfer, TK3. And, I had a chance to talk to a family that was at Gravenstein and is now at Annalee, and what inspired that family to attend the Gravenstein district. And I think that is also a testament to the other partner districts that are attracting students from the greater Sonoma County area. And then I think that the hope is that, through continuing those partnerships, that those students want to stay with their cohort of kids and funnel into, Annalee High School. I think that the trends we've seen grow over the years, I just do want to tip my cap to the folks that have been in this district for many years, that have put in the work, the staff and the leaders and the community members to establish that reputation. So I think that there's some real optimistic, story that we heard through that. And that's what I'm thinking in terms of for my own kid. So.
Chris, when you say that, being a grandparent of Gravenstein students, they'll occasionally have little play dates amongst their classmates. And being the board member that I am and community member that I am, I'm always intrigued to talk to those parents that have inter-district transferred. And there's a lot of them. I mean, we see there's 13%, increase in students from Gravenstein Elementary District. And it's a positive number where everybody else's is negative. And when you talk to those parents, I always ask, so what's your thoughts? Are you thinking that you're going to keep your kids together with the, absolutely, we're not going to Santa Rosa schools. So that I just go, okay, and some people know what my role is, others don't have a clue, and some I share, some I don't, but it's really heartening to hear that. And thanks, Chris, for wanting to join our district.
100%. And then last thing I'll leave, and this just is, thinking outward to the growth of our school is, we're ahead of the curve in terms of the trends, the schools consolidating. I know it's difficult, but we're moving past that. And I think that we're going to continue to reap the benefits of other districts that are making tough decisions that we made, 4 years ago. I think that that's going to allow us to attract, continue to attract top quality personnel as positions are laid off, and obviously as families look to find the best educational environment for their students. And I know that, we're very optimistic about the growth of our new program, but we're also optimistic about the sustainability of Annalee's current enrollment and pushing towards the max enrollment that we've seen in the past 20 years, which is in the 1,600 range. So new facilities, continued movement towards our vision and strategic plan, evolution of educational programs to serve this dynamic student population, but kids from every single comprehensive high school in the county.
Rob, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Okay, do we need to, oh, yes, please.
So I say, I studied the enrollment numbers that were presented in the consolidation study in Forestville, and I think his numbers are accurate, and I think they were wrong in the consolidation study. I went and looked, if you take schools like Harmony and Oak Grove had 1,200 students listed in the consolidation. They actually only have 800. There's a charter in Santa Rosa, a pivot charter, that has 400 students, and it's just kind of wrong to count that. But I think for interest in the new school, I'd love to see if we can find any data on homeschooling and other alternatives. I hope we can attract families from that to enroll in the district and grow the school that way as well.
Okay, we're moving on to consideration of approval of resolution number 10, 2425 Education Service Center Region 10457 Cooperative and Interlocal Agreement and Resolution. That's a mouthful. And this needs to be.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Rio, thank you.
All right. So,
Discussion.
all right. So this is to offer our employees an additional voluntary retirement plan of 457, in addition to the 403B that's already being offered. TCG currently services the 403B, the 403B plan, and they also have their service provider and administrator for the retirement asset management services program that is actually operated out of the Region 10, which is in Texas. It's a county office that they had seen this need for their districts there, and they actually became basically a JPA and offer this 457 along with some other retirement programs. So we'd like to, because they are a education agency, they require a resolution for us to join, and then our employees would be able to take advantage of this additional 457B plan if they so choose.
And what I read was there's no cost to the district and not for managing it either?
No, it's all comes out of however they manage the funds. Yeah.
Other questions? This is basically a 401k-ish
Yes.
kind of thing that we're offering to our teachers at no cost to the district. It's like, why not? All in favor? Oh, okay. Rio,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Aye.
Lewis, aye. Okay, Jenny, we're in your world now. First reading of recommended revision to board policy. Oh, thank you for doing this on public art. Do you want to just summarize like what you had to grapple with and how you solved it?
I sure would. We had a discussion at the August 21st board meeting with respect to an item that was being presented to the board, and we were inconsistent with some of our practices in the policy, and it was requested that board at the time to update this and bring it back. We brought it back one time in October with some additional requests for clarification from the board, and I think I captured the majority of those requests, which were to come up with some type of matrix that would help the board in determining what art they would or would not approve. And I looked out there in the world of the internet and found information and tried to put together a process that we could easily adhere to. And I'm happy to answer questions or take additional comments or feedback that we could bring back for a second reading.
So thank you, Jenny, for doing this. I appreciate it because I know we really grappled with this before and it's been kind of an issue. So thank you so much for your help on this. The final piece that you talk about down here about the maintaining the district facilities and preserving the facilities, you know, blah, blah, blah. I read this and then I think I read it wrong, so I reread it again. And so I'm happy with the fact that you have in here that the board will make the final approval on the removal of artwork on campus. So thank you, because if that hadn't been in here, I was going to ask that it be in here, because I think it's really important that the board and then the community, you know, at a meeting have the opportunity to speak up and to speak about why they would or would not like something removed. So I think that's, you know, really important for us to have that. I think it protects you, as you know, from the past.
Yes.
And so I think it really does protect you from any issues any fallout from that. So, but thank you for putting this together. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I felt it was important to include not only the approval of public art, but working the process backwards for a process for when we need to remove it because it's no longer relevant to the campus or it's deteriorating.
And you got rid of having to form a committee to make approvals, which was just
Correct.
way more cumbersome than it needed to be. So
Correct.
I have a question on that, in that same paragraph, basically, where you say you have, prior to the removal of any artwork, district staff will make attempts to contact the original artists and take pictures to preserve the memory. Do you, when art is put on the walls or wherever, do you log in and put the name of the person? We have a list of that
We
somewhere.
do now,
We do
ever since
now.
we created the public art policy, which was born out of a PTSD from the consolidation.
I bet. Thank you.
questions? Yeah, Rio, please.
Yeah, I didn't understand what it means when it says it's going to be if a question like does it apply, it's NR, and then the overall criteria will be adjusted to eliminate, but then it says it still needs a score of 5.
Correct. So I presume when you look at the actual attachment questions, maybe if people submit, not all the questions would apply. So if it were someone from the community coming forward, and they were taking ownership of the art and doing it themselves, like involving the students wouldn't apply. So I would basically, I was trying to find a really good way to frame that, and I appreciate your question because I didn't do the greatest job of this over here. It's more like I would reevaluate the matrix based on the amount of questions that were relevant. Does that clarify it all?
That's what I thought it was, but then I could see being stuck with that. It has to be above a 5 when perhaps it should be like, I don't know, a percentage or a proportion of the questions. I don't know. I don't know how strict we would have to apply that rule.
from my perspective as someone who's been managing kind of this policy, they fall on my desk and I review them and I've quite enjoyed it, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it was meant to be like firm. It was meant to give us like some liberties. So if someone scored a 3, we probably wouldn't bring that forward because it wouldn't even muster. But if someone is in that in between, I'm happy to rework it and come up with a better percentage because I realize 5 out of 8 questions is really a D, I think. When I when I do the grading. So if maybe I can give it a percentage, I can rework this a little bit if you like, for an option for the second reading.
I mean, I think that would help me take a bit. I don't know.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay. So it'll come back for a second read with some changes and we can just at that time approve it.
Correct. We wouldn't put it on consent just
No, I
so that
think
there
we
could be
need to bring it
feedback.
back.
Put on consent, you can read it in the agenda notes.
No,
before
I would not put it on consent. I think it should come back.
If
Okay.
you want to review the changes that I make and make any last minute tweaks, you guys can
Okay.
do that at a second
Yeah.
read, but typically it would be agendized.
I also like the fact that we're not like trying to declare memorial plaques or benches or that sort of stuff as art. And a lot of people that were coming to us looking to, do those sorts of things thought that that was art. That's not really art. And so that's where the definition here is going to be a little bit different. And when people want to do a memorial for somebody, we're going to kind of lead them into something like a bench, I think, or something so maybe you can explain that.
I can
Jenny.
explain that. Because there was discussion tonight regarding the naming of a school, Chris and I had a conversation. This originally came forward with 2 different board policies, public art and 7310, which is the naming of school facilities, which embedded in that policy is memorials. It's kind of weird, doesn't really make sense. So what our plan to do is at a future board meeting is remove the memorial piece from 7310 and create a new board policy 7310.1, which is memorials on ground facilities and grounds, and really identify a process for which the board would consider those type of requests because we do get them quite often. So it's much like we're clearly identifying public art and then we're clearly identifying memorials. They're 2 separate processes and policies.
Thank you. That's going to be much easier to manage, I think.
Thanks, Jenny, for doing that, for bringing it back. Good. Okay, so probably last and best item, Measure A bond and budget project updates. You want to give us the highlights?
Highlights of this are over the winter break. Last meeting we had was right before winter break. Over winter break, if you haven't been by the old Laguna campus, now the Student Services Center of Annalee, there are 6 brand new portables on there. A lot of site work has been happening. It was magic. People don't know how it happened. They just showed up at 7 in the morning, again at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was awesome over the course of 4 days. We are swiftly moving forward with the campus improvements to the Laguna campus. Building B out there, which is the old science building, is the first building being painted. All the lockers have been removed. All the K-walls have been removed. All the interior tinting has been done. Interior painting of the H classrooms has been completed. Interior painting of the L classrooms, where the new Academy of Innovative Arts. Still working on that. Will be next year. So that campus has also had the building K, which if you've been out there and you know building K, it was in the back of the campus. It's been condemned for years. We also have had the old maintenance building. Those have all been demolished and removed over this last weekend. Paving will likely start in a few weeks. Mother Nature has been really good to us for the last couple of weeks, so we have been maximizing all of the work out there. Laguna has been amazing. Thank you so much for dealing with us. And The career technical education phase 1 is almost complete. That's the parking lot improvements down in the back maintenance former barn area. Phase 2 is scheduled to start in March. It is all contingent upon the portables being ready, but there has been a lot of active movement. We're currently in actively bidding phase 3, which we hope to bring to you in the next month. So happy to answer any other questions if you have them.
Great job, Jenny. Thank you. That was beautiful update.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I asked them. Return to closed session if necessary. It's not. And therefore, the meeting is adjourned.